This episode of the CCS After Hours is brought to you by Previously Recorded, putting the review back in game reviews.
Right, so as most of you folks should know at this point, recently we released the third and final installment of our SGW trilogy, and with that, we are now officially retired from the topic of sexism in video games. But the thing is that given all the events that have transpired in the past 2.5 months, we are in a kind of an interesting situation right now because whether or not we want to address Gamergate, it's kind of a thing. It's almost like a point of no return. There's no getting away from it. I mean, obviously, game journalists would rather we forget about it.
Or to quote some game journalists, they want us to sit down and shut up.
I actually have a story related to that because about 2 weeks ago, on Twitter, I received a link from one of our followers that basically contained... Most of our listeners should know who this person is, but basically it was Daniel Floyd of Aristocratic fame, who was asked to comment on Gamergate, his thoughts, opinions, etc., etc. And I'll probably link his response in the video description so that you can read it for yourself. But as far as my interpretation of his response goes, all you really need to know is that it takes him about 2 or 3 paragraphs to even suppose for a second that Gamergate might not be a hate campaign after all. Because he was, as far as I can understand, he had been contacted by some people, some Gamergate supporters, telling him that, listen, we know that game journalists have tried to portray us in a negative light, but we're not misogynists, we're not trying to target these women, all we want is just fair and unbiased game journalism. And from then on, he goes on to say how, from what he has read, it's really hard for him to imagine how Gamergate can be anything but a hate campaign, and he tries to appeal to our reason, or at least to our honor, I suppose, telling us how the gamer identity has been dragged through the mud.
By them.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, Daniel, if you're referring to all those 12 articles that were written as a knee-jerk response to Gamergate, yeah, we kind of know for a fact that those articles were orchestrated by the Game Journals Pros group. But anyways, and to add insult to injury, at the end, he tries to... The thing about Daniel Floyd is that he always tries to be non-confrontational, like, why can't we all just get along, guys? That type of guy. But the problem is that he wraps up his thoughts by basically passively-aggressively telling us that, look, you might have a couple of valid points about game journalists, but it would really be in everyone's best interest if you just keep them to yourselves and pipe down.
Oh, God. Yeah, the smiling authoritarian. Gotta love that shit. Remember that one woman in Harry Potter? The fat little pudgy woman who was always smiling and really, really aggressive, but, she always wore pink and that kind of thing, and she always, sit down and shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
I used to have a fucking counselor who was just like that. Jesus Christ. I hate people who smile and lie through their fucking teeth and tell you to sit down and shut up. I can't stand people like that, and this is what this guy's doing. He's sitting there smiling. Yeah, we really maybe you guys might have a point though, but it'll be better if you all just sit down and be quiet.
Mm-hmm.
It's God, fucking damn it! I hate people like that. I hate them. Anyways,
not to mention the fact that somewhere in the middle, he does try to kind of break down how Gamergate hasn't really accomplished anything. It's like, okay, you know what, maybe Intel did pull their ads from Kotaku, but aside that, do you really, and this is kind of scary, just the fact that just the way he talks about it, it's like, do you really expect these people to get fired over this? Like, he almost, he's got some inside information. It's like, you can't really defeat us, so why even try?
See Kyle.
Yeah, precisely, because he does go on about the fact that, you're not really going to change anything, so you might as well give up. And it's at that point when he completely lost me, because it's like, Daniel, listen here, pal. Knowledge is the ultimate power.
Yes.
For the past 2 years, we were kind of disorganized, confused. We didn't really understand where all of this social justice rhetoric came from. But now, given the events that have transpired in the past 2 months, we know why these people are doing that. We know that it's just a means to an end for these people to get as much ad revenue as they can and to propel a certain agenda.
Yes. Clickbait journalism.
Yeah, pretty much. So at this point, anyone who has done their research, they know what Gamergate is about. And they know to stay away from websites like Kotaku, Polygon, Rock Paper Shotgun, etc., because you're not even gonna get an iota of honest journalism from them.
But Cinemax, where will we get our video game reviews and news?
That's right, because you know what? It's kind of hard to form your own opinions, and gosh darn it, I'm so used to listening to someone.
Max, who will revalidate my $60 purchase?
Yeah, because I don't really want to hear whether or not this is a good product, because all I want to hear is that it's good, and you know what? If anyone has anything negative to say or any valid criticism about this or that game,
they should sit down and shut up too.
Yeah, because you know what? I just I like everything positive. Like if I'm buying a game and maybe it has a couple of flaws, or maybe it's even totally fucking unplayable, I don't want to hear about that, because I just want to know that I made the right choice. I want to feel good about my purchase.
Like they say, like Rich Evans said in previously recording a Red Letter Media subsidiary, I guess, offshoot project. He said in one of the recent Twitch Let's Plays, they just need to make a fucking YouTube channel called Validating Your Purchase, where all the guy says is he holds up a picture of a game and says, "You bought it, good job."
Don't listen to what the haters have to say. This is a great game.
You made the right choice.
Yeah, pretty much. Confirmation bias, the YouTube channel.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah, but I mean, to go back to Daniel Floyd for a second, like one of the arguments, or one of what he thought of as a valid argument to deconstruct Gamergate is like it's there have always been, like he says, there have always been issues with gaming, etc. So why now? Why are you complaining about this now? And it's like, well, there is such a thing as a boiling point.
Yeah. There's such a thing as taking fucking data and skewing it to fit your agenda.
Right, and the fact is,
there's such things as fallacious arguments.
That, and also, how is saying that, there have always been issues with this stuff, how is that really a counter-argument? It's like, yeah, there are issues, and we want them to finally be remedied.
Yeah, that's a total bullshit logical point. There's always been issues, so, you might as well sit down and just give up.
Mm-hmm. It's not like things are going to get better, so you might as well just, get accustomed
American politics.
Yeah. Oh boy, we're going into dangerous territory here, but...
Jesus, yeah.
Although he does have a point about the fact that, gaming journalism has always had problems. We're not going to deny that, but the fact is that maybe we ought to start trying to find
rectifying those problems?
Find some kind of solution, rectify those problems. And the thing is with the advent of the internet, with the advent of YouTube, given the fact that now everyone has a voice, and by everyone I mean just normal gamers, there is actually an alternative right now to gaming journalism. Because like I said, now that everyone has a voice, there can be a system or a website or a group, whatever, where it's basically, gaming news or gaming reviews for the gamers, by the gamers.
Blistered thumbs. I'm sorry, I had to throw that out there.
Okay, maybe that's not a good example, but it still could be done.
Well, the biggest thing is that all reviews are going to be opinion-driven. There's never going to be a totally objective review.
Right.
That's almost like an oxymoron, an objective review. Mark Kermode might like a certain thing because of his own past experiences with certain movies. Another reviewer might like something completely different, so on and so forth. However, the biggest issue going on right now is the fact that basically game reviewers are in bed with the developers, and not even Jim fucking Sterling denies that.
Mm-hmm. No, he fully embraces it. He boasts about it.
Yeah. He tells us to fuck off.
Mm-hmm. It's like, hey, you're just jealous that we, the cool kids, get to rub elbows with developers.
The aristocracy. That's a total Marie Antoinette quote. Eat cake. Jim Sterling's basically saying, you know what? Yeah, I'm friends with developers. They give me free shit. Eat cake.
Yeah, and it's like when you overtly go and brag about that and throw dust into people's face, it's like, can you really not see why people don't like you?
Yeah, and this is a great reason why I like looking at like reviews and whatnot on YouTube, and we cited in the beginning, previously recorded, because they don't have any connections to the industry. They're just cantankerous 30-something-year-olds, kind of like me, who just are sitting around, and if they play Alien Isolation, which has gotten them a ton of hate. The Sonic review that they did, Sonic, quote, the most overrated game ever, got a ton of hate, completely 50-50 divide on the likes and dislikes. But they're just a couple of guys playing games, analyzing them, and just having a conversation about it. And if you don't like it, you don't have to like it. You can always listen to somebody else, though. But at least these guys, all they are doing is they're just talking about games.
Right, they're just sharing their opinions. They bring up their what they like.
They have no connections to the industry, so they're not sucking someone's dick.
Right, it's an opinion show, and obviously they have their own biases and whatnot. But at the end of the day, they usually they back up their opinions with facts, or at least provide legitimate reasons why they dislike something like Alien Isolation. So
right. The door opening simulator of 2014.
Yeah, pretty much. So you can't really fault them for having this opinion. And, to go back to what you said earlier about all reviews being subjective and whatnot, that's actually one of the popular misconceptions about, like, Gamergate, that it's like, please, what, do you really expect completely unbiased journalism? It's like, no, when we talk about unbiased journalism, we're talking about journalism that is not based on cronyism.
Exactly, cronyism.
Paid journalism. Yeah, pretty much. There's a reason between someone, like, again, Jim Sterling, having a certain opinion, and I might disagree with that opinion, but it's like, okay, that's what the guy thinks. And there's a difference between that and, say, Jim Sterling getting a special edition of a game beforehand, complete with all sorts of trinkets and special features and whatnot, and then going on and giving that game, say, a 9.5 rating.
Right. It makes it sound like we're giving Jim Sterling a ton of shit, but we're giving him shit for shit that he's done. Mm-hmm. One example where I think Jim Sterling kind of made the right choice was there was a game called Deadly Premonition for the Xbox. And basically, if anyone's ever watched a lot of David Lynch movies, and especially the TV show Twin Peaks, this video game is basically Twin Peaks, the video game. It's full of ridiculous dialogue, ridiculous choices, a lot of surrealism, and basically the game is a piece of shit because it's also buggy and the graphics suck nuts. But Jim Sterling, again, an objective opinion or a subjective opinion, using his own voice, actually praised the game. He said, it's a beautiful disaster, and he said it was actually one of the games worth playing. And I actually started playing it, and it's actually, despite it being repetitive, despite the absolutely cornball freaking dialogue and whatnot, it's freaking entertaining as all hell.
Right.
Now, this is an example of, obviously, where he let his own opinion dictate his feelings towards the game and make the recommendation, which every other developer does, or every other developer does. Yeah, they pay the person to have an opinion, which is, again, the issue. It's when developers start giving presents and we start rubbing elbows with other people in the industry that starts to clout your judgment.
Right.
If Jim Sterling were to have given Deadly Premonition a glowing review because he was paid to do it, because he was friends with the developer and it was a shit game, instead of giving genuine reasons why a shitty game could be good, so bad it's good, like a terrible Z movie.
Yeah.
That's one. Those are two different things. To have an opinion, say, this is actually so bad it's good, or to be paid to say the bad game is good. Again, I go back to the Kane and Lynch debacle back in the early 2000s, where GameSpot had a bunch of Kane and Lynch ads all over their fucking website. Square Enix gave them a ton of money, and then they fired the reviewer who gave Kane and Lynch a less than stellar review. I think it was like a 6, which is fucking a nail in a coffin of a game, apparently.
Right, because, it has to reach that 75% score on Metacritic, otherwise...
Well, yeah, again, it's the entire scoring system is a piece of shit. But you're right, it has to meet a certain Metacritic or a certain area. And I've actually come up with a theory that the gaming scorecard, with a 70 being an average game, is actually based on the grading system of like high school and grade students in America, where it's an A, it's a B, it's a C, and if it's below a 59, it's an F. It fails. So.
Mm-hmm. Although the scoring system itself is inconsistent, because you have certain sites that do feature the scale from 0 to 10. where 5 should be like the
Middle of the road.
Yeah, it's a mediocre game. It's a passable game. But of course, it's actually closer to 7, because if it's anything less than 7, then all of a sudden it's shit, even though it shouldn't be like that.
Yeah, and again, a 70, a 7 or a 70 is a C, and C's average.
Right.
In grade school.
But then you have other websites that use like the 5-star system,
which is even more confusing. And then you have the 4chan system where people are like 49 out of 10.
Yeah, pretty much. And some websites don't even have any kind of numbers because they believe that a complex opinion cannot be represented numerically.
Red letter media. All they say at the end is, would I recommend this movie, yes or no?
Yeah, which is the best way you can kind of summarize an opinion, yeah or no. As far as like purchase goes, either watch this movie or not. And I think Spill back in the day used to have like a system that was more or less like,
full price and matinee,
rental,
rental, yeah.
Which at least it's a human way of interpreting whether or not you should make it kind of assists you in making an informed purchase, shall we say?
Right. Like even with like Red Letter Media, when they do their reviews, it's like I'd recommend this for sci-fi fans, but if you're gonna take your kids to it, I'd pass.
Right. Which, as I said, helps you make an informed purchase. But websites these days, and of course, to go back to these scoring systems, I think like IGN has one of the most notorious rating systems, because you can have certain, like, they have several sections like graphics, gameplay, story, etc., etc., etc.
Yes.
All of which are arbitrary, mind you, but still. And a game can have like 8 for graphics, 9 for story, 6 for gameplay, and then somehow it all averages to 4.
Yeah. The best example of that was Kenny back in the day when CCS was in its primordial ooze stage. Kenny reviewed the game Splatterhouse.
Right.
Which is a remake of a great arcade game. And the next gen, or the PS3, Xbox 360 era game was, I bought it. It's fun in places, kind of redundant in others. I'd probably give it a 6 out of 10, with 5 being average. But personally, Ken gave it a glowing score because it was a lot of fun. There's definitely some fun areas in it. He enjoyed it, and he wasn't paid to like the game. That's a big one. But he took a screenshot of the IGN review of it, and again, you can't spell ignorant without IGN.
Right.
And the scorecard that the author gave it was like 6 for graphics, 7 for gameplay, 6 for something else, 7 for story. Overall, 4. It's like, what kind of fucking George W. Bush fuzzy math do you use to get this shit?
Why even have all the different categories if you're not gonna do proper math and find an average?
Yeah, exactly. 6, 7, 6, 7, 5. Overall, 4.
Yeah, because if the final opinion is that this game is below average, what's the point of praising the graphics or anything? You can mention that, the game looks pretty, but it has all of these enormous flaws that I cannot get past. You might as well just give your honest opinion. What the fuck is the point of praising the graphics? The graphics look nice and the sound is blah blah blah, but 4 out of 10.
Yeah, and again, it kind of goes back to the Jim Sterling Deadly Premonition thing. Graphics to not that he scored it this way though, but I've seen other people score this game, and the graphics are like a 3, and then like the story is confusing, so it's like 4. And here comes Jim Sterling, Game of the Year.
All right, and as long as he gives valid reasons for why you might enjoy that game, I'm content with that. No problem with it.
Right.
No one has an issue with anyone going on a limb and actually praising something that others might not find as enjoyable, as long as they have valid reasons for enjoying said product.
Right, and the reason why we're going all around the world here between Jim Sterling and people being paid to give an opinion, and even the scoring system, is because it's all so fucking inconsistent. I mean, you look at gaming journalism right now and the gaming review systems, and you look at it and it's like, why would I fucking bother?
Yeah.
To be honest, I mean, my opinion, there's you go on YouTube and you find certain personalities that you might like. I'm not necessarily pointing out like PewDiePie and the rest of those guys. I'm definitely not even considering them, although we'll get to them in a minute. But like the Red Letter Media Group previously recorded, I can agree with a lot of the games that they've played in the past. Because I played them myself, and I found that their opinion largely coincides with mine. It's not 100%. Nothing should ever be 100%. But I like a lot of what they say, and they dissect it very well. Mm-hmm. and they definitely don't have any connections to the gaming industry, which is really beautiful. But then, you listen to their reviews and you start to like them just because, if I was playing Aliens Isolation, I'd probably get the same opinion of that I got with the Sonic review, for instance.
Right.
The internet has given us so many fucking options on who to listen to, whose voices to, well, not who to listen to, but who to reference. So many voices out there of, that might share similar interests, similar backgrounds. And if they play a game and they say, hey, it's a good game, you might want to check it out.
Right.
But that's the reason why everyone is all up in arms about the journalists in bed with developers, because it's a total conflict of interest.
Yes.
I mean, it's exactly the same amount of bullshit that, I don't want to get on a political rant though, but, Obama hired the ex-lobbyist for Comcast to become head of the FCC because he's a golfing buddy, and now they're trying to tear down net neutrality. Oh, fucking hell. And people, again, this cronyism, this aristocracy that they're building is so fucking apparent.
Yeah.
In almost every single aspect of our daily lives that it's flabbergasting. And when you confront people about it, they tell you to sit down and shut up.
Right. They don't even see any issue or, as you said, conflict of interest going on.
Yeah. Oh, it's my friend, and I'm getting free shit though. But you guys are just jealous, and I'm still the authoritarian on the issue. And I know more than you guys. I'm one of the cool kids. You guys should sit down and shut the fuck up. That should not be tolerated.
Right. But as we said previously, the internet has given plenty of people voices, and
including our shit voices.
Yes, that too. If it were not for the internet, you wouldn't be listening to us, which would probably be a better thing. But
the world would be a better place without the internet. on some levels, I can agree. But the best thing about the internet is that it is the place where people can compare the evidence and call out bullshit.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't matter what it is. I mean, the internet is the place where if a car company's not recalling a car because it has X many fatalities, use the Fight Club math if you want to. Mm-hmm. But the internet's a place where whistleblowers can go out and say this is bullshit, and they can get public opinion on their side, and they can really tear down a lot of this authoritarian bullshit and all the smoke and mirrors.
Right, which is why, as you've told me, recently you've begun paying more attention to Steam reviews of games versus paid publications.
Yes. And even Amazon reviews. I see where you're leading into this. It's a story I told Cinemax not long ago. But in my office, we were trying to find a new speakerphone system, and I used Amazon reviews for the large part as a good way to determine what the product value of something is, because I've rarely been let down by it. And of course, my boss comes over, and I'm like, hey, this speaker has, X many 5 stars and X many 4 stars and that kind of stuff on Amazon from other people. And of course, his first opinion is, well, I imagine that stuff's all probably the companies making reviews and trying to swing the vote in their favor. I'm like, compared to what? Compared to what? So I sent a bunch of screenshots, one of which was the infamous Kotaku Call of Duty article, why it's stupid to hate Call of Duty.
Yes.
Where it has pictures of Call of Duty ads all over the fucking Kotaku screenshot. Buy Call of Duty at Best Buy. And again, the title of the article was why it's stupid to hate on Call of Duty. And it's like, wow. I mean, I would take, even if there are people out there who are making bad or fake reviews to swing the vote, I would still take public opinion, democracy, over some type of authoritarian opinion on something.
Right, because just the idea that this one person is bestowed with so much power that
Exactly.
he gets to tell you whether or not this game is good or not. It's like, what?
I mean, can you imagine Amazon reviews if it was only done by one person? Imagine the corruption. Imagine the corruption versus giving everybody a chance to vent, to praise, to critique.
Right. And of course, sometimes there is a chance that some companies will try to manipulate their Amazon reviews, or if it's a restaurant, maybe some Yelp reviews, that website Yelp.
Yeah, exactly.
So there is a chance of that. But given the amount of sources that we have thanks to the internet, why not spend the extra 15 minutes to do proper research and get as much information about this or that product as you can?
Exactly.
Don't just go to one source like IGN or GameSpot. It's like, well, GameSpot says that Call of Duty Advanced Warfare is the game of the year. Well, I should go and buy it. Beep, 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 beep.
Well, click on one of their ads and go right to the shopping cart.
Yeah. Yeah, right next to the score, there's a button that says "Checkout game here." You know.
Buy game now. I actually remember Blistered Thumbs used to do the exact same thing. Blistered Thumbs used to have a checkout button for their Amazon account right next to the fucking game review.
Motherfuckers.
Yeah, so that's why
that explains why they're dead now.
But see, that's the beautiful thing about things like Yelp and the restaurant critics and product critics, and even if there are networks where players can weigh in on certain games and stuff, is that these are not usually gated communities. Is that anybody can give their 2 cents.
Absolutely.
I mean, if I like a game or if I don't like it, I can go on Amazon and I can write a review for it. And whether or not my review helps other people, that's also voted up and down by other people. So these opinions are weighed. These opinions are scrutinized. These opinions are put into a big pot, and there's an average that gets spit out at the end of the fucking day. And this is the kind of review system that I prefer to look up. Again, going back to the Steam reviews, the exact same thing. You can look at the most popular review is probably the most accurate.
Right.
That's what I take versus someone like Jim Sterling, like even the Red Letter Media guys, to be fair, rather than one authoritarian group of people saying this is what you should like.
Right. Instead of having one source dictate what you buy and what you don't buy, you instead do your research, sift through a multitude of sources, and then make an informed decision. Because the kind of review system that we're advocating here for is basically like a consumer report.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, you can argue that video games are an art form, and they might cover these or that complex themes, etc. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it's still a product, and you're paying money for it.
Yes, and to expound upon the consumer report thing, which is another great example, I was watching on YouTube. God, love YouTube, just a source of fucking knowledge. And
an excuse to procrastinate.
Exactly. But it's a time waster excuse too. I should clean house. Fuck it, I'll watch YouTube. Fuck my dreams, But I was watching this video between an anarchist and someone who's a statist, and they're having a fairly civil ideological debate, and the anarchist kind of brings up the point that if consumer reviews was found out to be paid by certain product manufacturers to give good reviews, that system would be fucking dead.
Yes.
And I'm paraphrasing it, obviously, but again, if consumer reviews holds itself to such a high amount of scrutiny and a high amount of integrity that they won't let people buy good reviews from them, that they are the beacon of light in consumer product reviews, why are gaming journalist outlets and reviewers so hostile when it comes to defending their ties with developers and producers? Again, going back to Jim Sterling, well, yeah, I have friends in the industry and they give me, I get stuff early and I get, these Ultimate Edition box sets and shit like that, but it doesn't skew my reviews. It's like bullshit. Maybe the only one that didn't skew his review is probably Duke Nukem Forever, but...
Well, to answer your question, the reason why they're so defensive and hostile...
That's their fucking money, that's why.
Yes, it's because they're afraid. I forget where I read this. It could have been Reason, or it could have been some other source, but basically what that person wrote was that back in the day, game magazines or gaming sites like IGN, GameSpot, Destructoid, etc., they were the only source for a person to... They were the only source for reviews, where people would actually consult them, whether or not they should procure this game or rent that game, etc., etc. But now, with the advent of YouTube and the advent of Let's Plays and basically video reviews by normal gamers, they're terrified that they are becoming irrelevant.
Extinct.
Yeah, pretty much. So
the sooner that fucking asteroid comes out of the fucking sky, the better.
Yeah. So they kind of try to almost brandish the fact that, well, you know what? You can go and listen to Joe Schmo 69 on YouTube and his opinion on, say, Alien Isolation, but I'm actually, I'm rubbing elbows with developers. I've got extra insight, and it's like,
that's not a good thing, really. I mean, I'd rather have Joe Schmo. Someone who, again, I watch a couple of their videos.
A normal gamer such as yourself, yes.
Like previously recorded, I watched their reviews, and for the most part, I agree with them on the games I played, and I use that as a basis for the games I have not played and whether or not to get them. Again, I wouldn't buy Alien Isolation because basically it's a poor man's Outlast.
Right.
But yeah, I remember back in the day, Nintendo Power used to be the big opinion on Nintendo video games. And when you go back and look at some of the articles, you wouldn't believe how much smoke was being blown up the asses of 8-year-old kids. Yeah, it could be a shit game. Like, my brother bought the game We're Back, The Dinosaur's Tale for Super Nintendo, which is one of the fucking worst games I've ever played in my entire life. And of course, the review on the Nintendo Power was, it's a delightfully charming something or another, and it's like, what the fuck? I mean, really? When you have Nintendo games where people write into the editor and ask, how do I get past the first level? And Nintendo still gives a glowing review just to sell more just to sell more carts. Something's wrong.
Yeah, and to go back to what you mentioned about the anarchist versus status debate on YouTube, there is a certain level of veracity to what he said about, like, if it turns out that, say, even YouTube reviews that are meant to be by the people for the people are being rigged,
mm-hmm.
people will smell bullshit, and like I said, knowledge is the ultimate power, and people will stop paying attention to those reviewers.
Yes.
Such as what's going on right now with certain Yes, as I was trying to say, that's kind of what's going on with certain famous Let's Players, because publishers have realized that, there might be something to these guys who have millions of subscribers advertising this or that game.
It's easy viral marketing is what it is.
It is, and one egregious example that I can think of is when, this was like a year, maybe 2 years ago, when Game Grumps, the original Game Grumps, JonTron and Egoraptor, they were contacted by EA, who gave them a preliminary copy of Dead Space 3, hoping that maybe the boys can, say a couple of nice words about that game. And it's been a while since I last saw that video, but if I remember correctly, while they were trying to have as much fun with the game as they could, you could still hear like that, a little, based on some of the intonations that they use or the tone of their voices, they weren't really all that content with the third installment of Dead Space as they let you believe, folks.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the problem, the fact that, you could say that the Let's Players are sort of like usurping what game reviewers are doing, but
they're no more immune to corruption than the game reviewers. So.
Yeah, because it seems that the bigger you get, the more prone to corruption you become.
Mm-hmm.
So when we say that, a consumer report system is a much better system than what we have right now, we are aware of the fact that, it's not infallible. It can also fail. But if, like I said, if Let's Players aren't working out, people will try and find an alternative to that.
Yes.
They'll refer to other sources.
There'll be another less biased Let's Player, for instance, like Previously Recorded. If Previously Recorded started getting like free games and stuff from developers, I would probably tune them out, to be honest. I mean, as much as I like the guys, especially Rich Evans, he has the iconic laugh, which seems to be a trend on the internet. If you have an iconic laugh, all of a sudden people like you for some reason, myself included. Ego.
Zing.
I know, but you have to consider that with the Let's Players, on the most successful Let's Players on YouTube, they took a game like Amnesia, which was made by a developer who went largely unnoticed with like the Penumbra series and stuff like that, and they basically made Amnesia a blockbuster. They made Slender, a very small fan-made game, a blockbuster.
A cultural phenomenon, as they say.
Exactly. So these guys, back before they were ultra popular, they basically viral marketed games to both improve the sales of those games or the acceptance of those games, and also boost themselves.
Right.
What you see now is these YouTubers are getting free copies of games.
Right.
Not all of them, but some of them are. Some of them actually admit to it, which is good. If they say beforehand, yeah, I got a free copy from this, let's play it. That's kind of
That's
fine.
kind of a wink to the audience,
Yeah,
sorry guys, but I have to do this to pay the rent.
It's the disclaimer that the fucking print journalists and web journalists don't want to put.
Yeah.
Basically, it's them accepting that there might be a conflict of interest, but again, you get to see the video in progress. They play it. You get to form your own opinion.
Right.
The whole entire YouTube thing, I even take with a grain of salt because, for instance,
as anyone should.
Yeah, everyone should. And you can once you start comparing some of these people together with other groups, you start to smell some bullshit. I'm going to pick on Markiplier for a second, even though I've watched some of his videos, and I have nothing against the guy, so don't be writing hate mail just yet. Let me explain what's going on. Rich Evans and Jack were playing a really horrid game that I played before in their Halloween Let's Play Twitch stream. It's a game called Real Horror Stories. It's a little flash game that you find on Steam for like a nickel.
Okay.
And it's a genuinely detested game, because all it is it's like House 1 and House 2, except not scary. Everything you do is a jump scare. Mm-hmm. Oh, I'll put the pieces of a newspaper back in the right order, and if I put the last pieces in, jump scare. Yep, I was right. So it's really, really redundant, and it's really, really a joke, and it's a piece of shit game, to be honest. So Rich Evans and Jack are just ripping this game apart. They're like, how is this a thing? How is this a game? Oh, let me guess. I put the puzzle together. Oh, I got a jump scare. Ooh, spooky. Mm-hmm. And then you compare that with like Markiplier, and after seeing that, I can almost guarantee that his entire shtick's an act. Because he's acting so horrified by this game that I have honestly played. And again, this is a subjective opinion. I've played it. It's not scary, and I'm a pussy when it comes to fucking horror games. But I played it. It's not scary. Rich Evans and Jack played it. It's not scary. They ripped on it. They made light of it because it is a joke. And then here's Markiplier. Oh my god, I'm so scared, you guys. Oh my god, what's gonna happen? Ah! And it's like, Jesus Christ. So again, that was the death of Markiplier for me.
Yeah, it's what you talked about earlier, like a couple of years ago when all of this began with games like Amnesia or Slander. It's kind of that thing, only taken to the most perverse extreme, where now it's become like a I scratch your back, you scratch mine, where you have these obscure companies making these basically ooga booga booga the game, where it's nothing but jump scares. Yeah. And they make them specifically hoping...
or as Rich Evans would call them, spooky games.
Yeah.
with just a ton of vitriol in his voice.
Yeah, and the reason why they make them is because they know that Let's Players cannot get enough of those games, because people like seeing someone shit their pants when they play something.
Yeah.
So, like I said, it's kind of like, I scratch your back, you scratch mine thing, which... at this point is really, really obvious. Another good example of that would be PewDiePie and Amnesia 2. Amnesia 2 is not nearly as well received as Amnesia 1 for plenty of reasons. Yet, when PewDiePie got a preliminary copy, once again, trust me, he was acting for his... He made sure to act for his paycheck. That's what he did.
Yes. He was acting for everything he was worth.
Mm-hmm. He was a true thespian in that video. Oh my god! Yeah. That was fake.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not insinuating that Markiplier was paid by the True Horror Stories game developer. I'm not insinuating that at all, but there's a lot of acting on his half.
Right.
At least from what I can tell. PewDiePie is the same way. I mean, I don't doubt for a second that the original Amnesia probably scared him shitless. Because there's some videos that he's done where, I mean... yeah, he got his ass handed to him.
Yeah. But once he saw that those videos are extremely popular, maybe I ought to make more of those videos.
Yeah. So there's always going to be some type of corruption in whoever you're turning to get information from. There's always going to be some level of corruption. But it's just, you got to be able to pick out which kind of corruption you want to tolerate. Mm-hmm. I mean, when it comes to getting paid to do positive reviews, that shouldn't be tolerated one fucking bit.
Right. And of course, everything we've just said, you can pretty much apply it to ourselves as well. If the day ever comes when all of a sudden you see posters of Call of Duty or the latest Transformers movie in our CCS video podcast studio, you should probably try and find another unbiased source for your opinions and stuff.
If people saw a fucking Transformers poster in our fucking video podcast, you know it's done with a lot of fucking snark.
Yeah, actually, you know what? The day when we stop being miserable misanthropes and all of a sudden force these giant grins in our faces.
You guys should really play this game or watch this movie. This game is awesome. This is cool. Then we've sold out.
Mm-hmm. And meanwhile, as we're smiling for the camera, we're kind of trying to
we're blinking SOS.
Exactly.
We will totally do that as a gag. Our eyes will be blinking SOS.
Or we have some secret hand gestures or something to tell you guys that we've been compromised.
We'll be wearing like little $ pins, or we'll all start looking like Jim Sterling. Trench coats.
Yeah, sunglasses, a podium, and
ponytail, right?
I'm not sure he has a ponytail.
Oh, because every single time I've seen him in a picture and in a video, I could swear if he turned his head, there'd be like the Simpsons comic guy ponytail. But
well, he definitely has the same attitude, so.
I am just reminded by the SSS blinking thing is that there's a story that World War II vets who were captured by the Japanese during interviews that the Japanese sent to America about how the prisoners were being treated. In the videos, they were actually blinking the words torture in interviews. Oh yeah, the food's here. Blink, 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 blink. Yeah, they're really great to us. Blink, 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 blink. So keep an eye on our eyes, people, because we'll take the paycheck though, but we're gonna find some way to let you guys know we've been compromised.
You know what? Maybe that's the reason why Jim Sterling wears sunglasses. Like he doesn't even want to, but the escapist forces him to.
It's his conscience causing a facial tick.
It's a preventative measure.
So in the next video podcast, we're going to be blinking Patreon. Well, see, we bow down to you guys, though. That's why.
Well,
for the most part.
Well, let's not go that far.
Yeah, I guess if we're going to take opinions, they probably would come from some of the Patreon people, though. But as much as we love them, they're great people, and you should totally blink, 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 blink.
And I think we're done.
Yeah, we're done. But in conclusion, guys, the internet, what's the quote from Ghost in the Shell? The internet is vast and infinite.
The net is vast and infinite, yes.
Well, in our case, the internet is. So, it's fine if you guys like certain reviewers, but we should require in our viewing habits that the people who we look up to for opinions and whatnot are giving us their real opinions, and that we should push for... God damn it, I'm trying to make a soapbox speech and I can't fucking do it. I'm basically trying to say that what we need to do is we need to make sure that the people who we're getting our opinions from aren't tainted by certain other interests, and we should hold these people to that amount of scrutiny.
Right. And hey, if you disagree with us, you know what? You have a right to have your own opinion, but look.
It's not the right one.
No, it would be in everyone's best interest if you just pipe down, sit down, and shut the fuck up and let us talk.
Yes! Perfect way to end this. Yeah, it's nice you guys have your own opinion, but you guys should just shut the fuck up and sit down. Yeah, that'd be great for everybody.
Could you do that for me? Thank you. Ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. Ugh. Fucking hate those assholes. Anyways, we're done.